Okay, welcome to part 5 of this drawing in Flash and introduction to camera shots. We're going to cover the bird's eye view, and we're going to use our brush tool and our pencil tool to do that, which are very useful tools. You use those guys a lot. So real quick, remember what bird's eye view is. Bird's eye view is when you have the camera straight overhead the scene, so it's looking straight down. It's a very unnatural and strange looking angle. And it can do weird things. As you can take, like it says here, very familiar objects. When you viewed from this angle, can look kind of like, what's that? You're not really sure what it is at first. Like I'm going to give an example of an umbrella or in a crowd or somebody's legs or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to Flash. I am going to insert a new keyframe, blank keyframe. Paste in my text. Call this bird's eye. I am going to attempt to draw an umbrella or some umbrellas in a crowd. And I went out and I got some umbrellas on Google that look, pretty much a bird's eye view there. Paste them in. I'll resize those a little bit. Hold down my shift key while I do that so it doesn't get all squished. I'll kind of move those over here to use as a reference. So before I start, real quick, let's look at the difference between the brush tool and the pencil. Pencil tool is obviously a little more precise. Brush tool is a little more free-flowing. Brush tool can do a lot of painting stuff. Pencil tool is more for just drawing edges. So when you click on your pencil tool, you have your options of what you want your object to be turned into an object as soon as you draw it. You want it to be basically grouped, or do you want to have each stroke? So I'm going to turn mine on off. And then you can have a straighten function where it's, basically whenever you draw a line, it will try to straighten it out very much for you. It'll smooth it out, or ink will just basically leave it alone, whatever your thing looks like. I'm going to leave smooth, and I am going to select a color of black. Looks good. And how about, well, let me start drawing. I'm not getting my properties of my pencils. It should come up for you probably, but I think when I use this recording software, it kind of goes whack on you. So I'm going to draw a pencil. If you hold down your shift key when you draw, it'll straighten it out automatically. For here it came up. I did a thickness of 2. And you can see if you use your white arrow and you click on your line, you'll see the points that were dropped. So basically it's treating the pencil almost like you're using the pen tool or the line tool. And the line tool is, when you just draw 2 points and it creates, Flash is going to create an end point and a start point. If you use the white arrow, you can grab those points and you can move them around. So if your line's a little bit too short or whatever, you can see with the pencil tool, I had a little bit of curve when I did that little dipsy. When I drew that line, I had a little dipsy in it. So it created little curve points. And you can see it's not such a good thing. If you wanted it to be real nice and smooth curve, of course you could have used the pencil tool, which we used before, and then you could get a smoother look. So all three of them, pencil, pen, and line tool, all very similar. Pencil tool, of course, giving you the most ability to just kind of free flow it. So I'm going to use that pencil tool, and I'm going to attempt to draw one of these umbrellas roughly, and I'm just going to kind of, that's going to be a little bit too big. Get rid of that. The smooth thing is kind of looking nasty to me. Whatever. I'm going to turn my object drawing on, I guess. Okay, there's a little one, there's a little one, This is looking like trouble. Not so good at all. Do that over again. I'll pause that and do it. Okay, well, it wasn't much better. I'm going to blow up a little bit on this thing. And I got my white arrow out, and now I kind of clean it up a little bit. I'll attempt to kind of move some points over a little bit. Maybe smooth it out a little bit. Maybe using my black arrow. So if you get right on the edge, you'll see like a little right angle tool come up. That means you have a corner point. Or if you get in the middle, you'll see it smooth out. That allows you to smooth it out like that. So alright, good enough for now. And now I'm going to draw on the little ribs that are coming down into each spot. And you can see as I draw that it's grouping each thing separately. and at the end I can group them all together. I can join them together. It's pretty sad. Whatever. So now I want to do is introduce you to the brush tool. So I want to paint inside that area. Now the first thing is I'm going to do is pause it and test it. Okay, so the brush tool, when you select it and you come down, you have you go into this to the options. You have 5 different styles that you can brush, and basically to sum those up, you have the normal, which just paints over everything. It paints over lines, paints over fills. Anything that's in the one layer, it'll just paint over it. A fill is only going to paint the inside of a fill. Like if I drew a circle, it'll paint over the color of the fill, and then anything outside it'll paint as well, but it won't cover the edge. Paint behind will just go behind the object. Paint selection will, if you select it first, click on it, then it will only color over that. And then paint inside is kind of neat. Paint inside will prevent you from painting outside the lines when you begin painting inside of a fill. So that's a neat one that you can use if you've got something you want to change parts of a color and you want to do some real fine tuning and you don't want to go outside of it. So you could paint just the fill part. Now I'm going to zoom way up on this, maybe 400%, and I'm going to pick my paintbrush. I'm going to pick a nice blue, and I'm going to just say paint inside. So that way as I get close, see I'm just painting as I go, and if I accidentally come over here like that, it'll erase it. So I can not worry too much. Now one weird thing about this is sometimes if you get close, too close, it'll just like it erases the whole thing, so it's hard to fill it in. Now truly what we're doing here could be accomplished much easier with a paint bucket. And let's look at the paint bucket. When you have a paint bucket, you can have these options. You want to close large gaps or medium gaps. Sometimes when you draw, there might be a little hole between the lines, so it's nice to have that large gap thing closed on. Then it will fill right through. Now let's try if I said don't close gaps. It still painted the whole thing. I'm going to try one more thing. I want to try to group this whole thing as one object, because right now it's made up of a bunch of guys. Now the original object had all those lines around the outside. That's why when I'm hitting the paint bucket, it's just filling it all in. But I think I will try this. If I go into combine objects and say union, now it may treat each of those little ribs as a separate entity. Yeah, see it did. There must be little gaps somewhere. I don't see them, but I don't know why it went all the way and stopped over here. And then I could pick a different color. Oh, I hate when it does that. No. No, I was supposed to be using the paint tool. But now if I wanted to paint back over, and I could say, hey, just paint the selection. I could click on the area, double click to go inside of it. So now I can just select that part, and now I can pick that paintbrush, and I could paint it, whatever. And now it will only paint there, and if I come over, it'll ignore that. It's only painting the part that's been pre-selected. So if you got some really detailed paint work that you want to do, that can come in handy. Of course, you can change the shape of your brush, and you can change the size of your brush. So that way you can draw a lot, paint a lot faster or whatever. So, rather long lesson to introduce the paint, but the brush and the pencil. But you get the idea. So you guys pick any bird's eye view that you want to do and attempt to recreate that, at least a few key parts of it, to give a unique look using just your brush and your pencil tools. Just experiment around, play around with it, mess around with your options, try some straighten things, some smooth things, and see what you can come up with for an interesting bird's eye shot. Definitely look at Google for some inspiration, for some examples of different ones. The one that I picked, I don't know, pretty good. I'll finish that and then I'll just duplicate it a few times to kind of give it a similar look and maybe try to draw that pattern on the floor. We'll see how it turns out.